What's up, everyone? Today we are painting Kick-Ass from Simon's Kick-Ass, the board game. For him, he is a really simple model. Only really 2 colors and then just doing some different shades of those. So I decided to do a really cool base for him that mimics Asphalt, and also some ink lining to make him look like the comic book character that he is. So let's get down to the table and I'll show you how I did them. Alright, so I decided to start off Kick-Ass this time with just an all-white prime. No zenithal highlights needed. And I'm using Vallejo Model Color's white and Prussian blue, which is a real dark blue color. Such a great model. You've also noticed I have removed him from the base before I even started. That is because I wanted to do something pretty neat with the base, which I'll show you at the end, of course. And so I paint the eyes in white. Even though he's primed in white, you do want to paint anything white with whatever color you're using. It gives it a much more even finish. The prime is not really meant to be left alone as paint. Then I'm coming back with that Prussian blue and putting it in the pupils because Kick-Ass in the comics has really bright blue eyes. So I didn't want to use black because his eyes are actually pretty big on this model. So now I am using a flat flesh, fairy flesh, and the highlight skin, all from Vallejo. And we're going to start with a flat flesh, and there's very little to paint on this model. This is going to be a nice quick one. But there is some skin that is showing on his face, where the mask has left area around the eyes. So you want to make sure you cover that all in the flat flesh. But the important part here is you're actually shaping the eyes. So you want to make sure the eyes look big and round, just like he does in the comics. Then I'm coming back with some of that fairy flesh mixed in with the flat flesh, and highlighting right along the nose and a little bit above the eyes. There really isn't a lot of room here, so there isn't much that you need to do, and a little bit goes a long way on this, just to add a little bit of depth to his face. And then next up, I put highlight skin mixed in with the fairy flesh, flat flesh mixture, and that is the brightest color we're going to use, and I just did that right on the tip of the nose. You could even skip that if you wanted to, but I found it necessary. Refractive green and flat green, both from Vallejo Model Color. Refractive green is like a brownish green. And I mixed them together just about 50-50 because flat green is just too bright. That is not the color of Kick-Ass's uniform, his scuba gear that he buys and ends up using as his crime fighting outfit. You want it to be sort of an off green color. It's hard to describe. Mine doesn't turn out exactly the right shade, but I think it's much closer than if I just went with green. So here it is after he's been completely coated. 2 coats, you want it nice and even, and then I'm going to dry brush in a little bit more of that flat green. So I'm taking the flat green and mixing it so that it's leaning more heavily towards the flat green, and then dry brushing over his entire body, front and back, and his sticks that he fights with. Now there really isn't much to this model, so I guess I can talk a little bit about how I removed him, which very carefully, both of his feet are molded together with the base, so it's all one piece. And all I did was ran a razor blade right beneath his heel and pushed all the way through the toe of his boot, and then did that with the other foot as well. Then I drilled a tiny hole right into the base of the foot and put in a paper clip, cut that off, and then I'm using my hobby holder here with a piece of cork to hold on to him, and then to put him back I'll drill a tiny hole in the base and super glue that pin in there, and then just super glue his other foot on top of the scenery that I'm going to create. So all I've done here is added a little bit more green, flat green into the mixture and dry brushed again. And then I finally do a very light dry brush with pure flat green. Here I'm using khaki, pale yellow, and a very bright yellow called lemon yellow, all from Vallejo. And I'm starting with pure khaki. Actually, no, I'm not. I apologize. It's a mixture of khaki and the pale yellow. So I wanted a brownish yellow to be the undertones of all of his yellow parts, because Kick-Ass is basically two colors. Sure, there's his face, but his entire body is green and yellow. That's it. So it's a very quick paint job, and I wanted to, you know, spend a little time spicing it up. And all of the lines on his body and his shoes and his gloves I did in the khaki pale yellow mix. Then I mixed lemon yellow in until I got a color of yellow that really matched what I wanted, and that I'm going to then paint on in all of the areas where the sun would be hitting. So the top of the shoes, the top of the gloves, and then all of the horizontal lines that are running across his body. The vertical lines, I left them brown, well, the tanner color, just to make there be a little bit of a difference. And then of course I did all the ones on his head. Here's a little tip. The ones on his head are very, very close together. So unless you have an incredibly steady hand, it's probably going to lump some of them together. Don't worry about that too much. What I did was, it's actually easier to paint in the green than it is to paint in the yellow. So I painted the yellow on the top of his head, and then I went back and did some fine lines of green. So there's Kick-Ass. He's already done. If you want to leave him like that, you're good to go. But I thought, you know what? Let me try making him look more like the comic. And so I got some acrylic ink in carbon black. So this is as black as the darkest night you'll ever see. It is way better than black paint in doing black. And what you want to do is take a really, really fine brush, the finest you can get, and this doesn't need to be watered down at all. It will flow perfectly off of your brush. I wish all acrylic paints worked like this. You know, there's some downsides of this, but it works perfectly for this. And all I did was, on any of the areas where I wanted to do shadows and lining, for the shadows I did little X's, little cross hatch. So I did it diagonal in one direction and then diagonal in the other direction. You saw that with the sticks there. I'll do it also underneath both of his arms, and I do it in his like crotch area. And then I also did that a little bit in right below his calf, like right where it meets the shoe, where I thought there should be some shadow as well. Then here on his shoe, I'm drawing in the lines. So all I've done here is I picked out where the like Velcro, the Velcro laces that are on his shoe are, and outline those, and then outline the side of the shoe. And I basically just looked at the artwork for the game, and I went and looked at a whole bunch of pages from the comics. I had never read the comics, I'd seen the movies, but I went and pulled up a bunch of comics so I could see if they really go into a cell shading style, or is it just some black lines to accent. And it's mostly black lines to accent. It's not cell shaded, so it doesn't need black lines everywhere. It only really uses them in the darkest areas, and then any time that there's going to be where two colors meet and they need a really strong dividing line. So you just saw I put the black lines between his legs and under each arms. And then here I am drawing lines around the elbow area of the glove. And then I'm also going to go in and put lines between each finger. And as long as you use a really fine brush, this won't be difficult at all. So here's the base where I had cut his feet off, and make sure you prime it just as you would any other piece of the model. Now I have the Vallejo earth texture, and this is the black lava / asphalt, and we're using it for asphalt. The whole point of this game is they're running around in the city, so I thought use some of this black asphalt. I've had it for a while and I haven't really gotten to use it on anything because I want to use it as lava, but I haven't had anything to paint with lava, so thought perfect, let's make asphalt out of it. So I experimented a little bit on a paper plate trying to figure out how to do it, and actually it is really simple. It doesn't take a lot of work. All you want to do is make sure you get good even coverage, and the black pigment that's in the earth texture will immediately color the base. So you have nothing to worry about that. It is a very strong, very dark pigment, almost as good as the ink. So it just colors it instantly. And then I just used my finger and I dabbed it along at first to pick up as much as I could, and then just went in a single direction over and over again until it was as flat as I could get it. And it was really just that simple. And once it felt very flat and started to look like asphalt and not look like black paint with sand in it, which was as quick as you saw there, I just went and set it and let it dry for about 20 minutes. I got some clear orange and the lemon yellow, and I mixed those together to get a just a little bit darkened down version of yellow. If you have an orange yellow mixture already, use that. But I wanted it to look like traffic lines. And the thing is yellow and orange do not cover black well. So this took probably 15 layers, I would guess. Not really exaggerating here. But just paint on some form of lines that look like traffic lines and you'll be good to go. Then with that, reattach him to the base. You could do this around him, but then it will look like there's asphalt on his feet. Here he's actually standing on the asphalt. You can see I colored the side of the base in green because Kick-Ass's color is green throughout the whole entire game. All the cards that relate to him are green. But there you go. And here he is with his picture, and you can see it's all green themed, and that's why I wanted to do that. But thank you so much for watching. Please do not forget to like. It does a lot of good for me. And subscribe if you want to see more of Kick-Ass, or check out one of my other series that I have done. If you want to see a specific model painted, comment down below, and I'll see you all next time.